Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki
Jai.
Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumara Namastu. We offer our grateful pranams at the lotus feet of our Bhagwan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar. And before we offer our prayers for today, we shall pick up some of those precious words uttered by our Bhagwan for our practice in our everyday life. Sadhana in spiritual life is not separated from our day-to-day life. For 2 days, we have been going round with Bhagwan. First day, of course, with Bhagwan at Chanadi Street. The next day, we took a circuitous round with Bhagwan from the temple to the streets and from the streets back to the temple. Now today, we shall sit with our Bhagwan Yogi Ramsuratkumar at Chanadi Street House and listen to the flow of words that spring forth from his experience, from his communion with God. Bhagwan never spoke much. Very rarely he would open his mouth and utter words. There were few times when people, especially in the 80s, when people came from Tapovanam, from Chennai, from Madurai, from the south, far south, Bhagwan had spoken on different topics. And today, we shall go through some of it. Bhagwan says, remember, imagine, remember. Not even imagine, if you remember, the Chanadi Street veranda, where we used to be seated, and sometimes inside the house. And later at Sudama also, Bhagwan had insisted on this. Swami says, if anyone thinks that Yogi Ramsuratkumar is this body alone, he is wrong. This beggar is not confined to this body alone. This beggar is everywhere. He is here, there, everywhere. He lives in your body and in every living creature. If you believe sincerely that this beggar lives in your heart, in everybody's heart, and prompts you to do whatever you do, this beggar will release you from Maya this moment. If we just look into ourselves, we know the minute the breath leaves the body becomes dead. And after that, there is only deterioration, degeneration, decay. Now, if you look at your breathing, you wonder where the breathing starts. It goes out and then it comes back. It goes out and it comes back of its own accord. How does it happen? Who has created this body, this very sophisticated body? And who has put the breath inside? Now that Supreme is right inside us. And that Supreme from which our breath flows is the Supreme which has come out in the form of Yogi Ramsuratkumar to be with us, to explain to us what life is all about, to point to the goal of life. It is that supreme force which draws the breath from outside and which pushes it outside. Now that is Yogi Ramsuratkumar, the Supreme. Now because of the presence of the Supreme, there is breath in the body. Because there is breath in the body, the eyes can see, the ears can hear, the mouth can speak, the body can move about, and above all, the brain can start working. The brain works. If the brain doesn't work, we would be vegetables. So we owe everything about this body, this brain, to the presence of the Supreme within us. And that Supreme is none other than Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Bhagwan says further, do not think that this beggar's work is talking to you or to anyone else about worldly affairs. My Father has sent this beggar to this world on a secret mission. That work is done silently. There is also another saying of Bhagwan. He says most of the work is hidden. He says meeting people and blessing them is only a small fraction of this beggar's work. Most of this beggar's work is hidden. And then he goes on to say, this beggar was born as a beggar, lives as a beggar, and will die as a beggar. I do not know how many of us truly understand this statement. What does he exactly mean by that? That he was born a beggar, lived as a beggar, now is gone as a beggar. Who could understand the subtleties of his statement? Could it be that he means there is only God and there is no one else? There is nothing to own up, no wealth, no relatives, to own up no possessions. Well, it's left to everybody's imagination. If anybody could turn up with an insight into the depths of this statement, they are welcome. Bhagwan goes ahead to say, my Father alone is the real master. He lives in everybody's heart. He creates everyone. We are only toys in His hands. He is the moving force behind everyone's actions. 1 minute Bhagwan says, if anybody believes that this beggar is in their heart and is activating their every movement, then this beggar would release them from Maya this moment. And then he goes on to say, my Father alone is the real master. He lives in everybody's heart. He creates everyone. He is the moving force behind everyone's actions. So now we know that the Father and the Son are one and the same. And then Bhagwan pointed to the house, the Sannadhi Street house, where he was living. This house belongs to my Father alone. My Father feeds this beggar and everyone, every creature. The truth is that this beggar does not exist. My Father alone exists. There is nothing else, no one else. So there is no beggar, no this beggar. There is only Father, and therefore the beggar and the Father are one and the same. He is the supreme force that maintains the breath in the body in all of us, and He is behind our every activity, our every thought, every word. Bhagwan further said, if you do anything without any selfish motive, my Father lives in you. If you are selfish, God leaves you immediately. What does that mean again? Every single statement that Bhagwan made is food for contemplation, is food for meditation. We should not treat it lightly. Bhagwan often said to me, if people could take up one saying of this beggar and practice it all their life, they would attain my Father in this very birth. So the selfishness is that which distinguishes us from God. The minute we give up the selfishness, we are already there in God. The selfishness is what he calls ego. So we come to the ashram. Bhagwan once said, people come to the ashram to give up their ego. But unfortunately, they come to the ashram and they demand attention. It is this ego which hurts people, which gets hurt in turn, that should be got rid of. It is this ego that is selfishness in all. So he says, if you do anything with a selfish motive, God leaves you. It doesn't mean our breath leaves the body. The Supreme is still there, and the breath goes on. We see how many wicked people live in this world, even flourish, to the surprise of people. So when he says God leaves you, the Supreme inside us probably goes to sleep. Then he says, wherever you are, if you think of this beggar or speak about this beggar, my Father is with you. He blesses you. I tell you the truth. This we all know because Bhagwan had often said that if people remember even the coconut shell of this beggar, there will be a flow of grace. So every thought of the Guru, of God, fetches a gift of grace from God, from the Guru. That is why we are going through Leela after Leela of Bhagwan. We are chanting his name so that this ego will be destroyed and we will be dissolved in Bhagwan. Bhagwan used to say repeatedly that a divine man would come in everybody's life at some time or the other and show who we are. In this connection, he used to tell us a story. A pregnant lioness was chasing a herd of sheep, and in so doing, she gave birth to the cub. After delivering the cub, something happened. The lion died. The cub now was left with the crowd of goats, sheep. So it is living in the midst of sheep, playing with them, eating grass along with them. And it began to think that it is also a sheep. It imbibed all the qualities of a sheep and is timid like them. Now one day, a lioness visited the forest. He saw the cub. He picked it up and took it to a nearby well. When the cub looked at the water, it saw its own image there, which was no different from the lion which was standing nearby. The baby lion realized that it belonged to the lion's family and that it was not a sheep. Once it knew that, it began to behave like a lion in a very natural way. Yogi Bhagwan compared us to the cub and said, we are living in the middle of many kinds of people in this world and are completely lost in the crowd. We do not know what to do. And then Bhagwan emphatically said, my Father will show you who you are at the appropriate time. He will show you what the purpose of life is, why we have come to this world, and what our work is. The only thing is that we must have complete and unshakable faith in our Father always. My Father will look after the rest. Yogi Ji placed considerable emphasis on the absolute faith in God and the Guru. The Guru is none other than God. We are not to think that they are two different entities. Bhagwan said, if you do not have Guru Bhakti, whatever we otherwise possess is of no use. If you have Guru Bhakti and have his blessing, it is more than sufficient. It is much more than whatever material possessions you have in this world. The true wealth is Guru's love. At the moment, the only wealth that we all possess is his name and his assurance that we are tools in his hands and he is running our lives. Bhagwan said, it's not easy to get a guru. a great spiritual master. It may take many, many births to get a realized soul as a master. But we must be happy that by the Father's grace, we have at least got a desire to get a guru. And we want to come up in spiritual line. The grace starts there from the very thought. Bhagwan continued, therefore, the most essential and important thing in our life is that we must have absolute faith in the Guru and God. He added, we are all fortunate to get a place in the heart of our Master. Our Master will definitely guide us, make us serve God and the nation. So here, Bhagavan shifts his focus from the people to the nation. All of us know, or at least many of us know, how Bhagavan held India in his heart. I remember one day when we were seated there in Sannadhi Street House veranda, a writer had come and he asked Bhagavan, why are you so partial to India? You belong to the whole world. You belong to every country. Why should you talk about India as though it is very special? Bhagavan said, I was in the hearing of it. He said, oh, this beggar is partial to India. Oh, that is very bad. This beggar is committing a sin. This beggar simply does not know better, my friend. You don't believe him. And after he left, he told me, they do not understand. They think that India is a country like every other country. It is the land of the holy masters. It is the land of gods. It is the Punya Bhumi. India is the spiritual playground of the great masters. Our Bharata Desam is Amar Bharat, the eternal Bharat. The great masters will always be here to look after us. Not only us, our descendants as well, for years and years, and guide us to play our role nicely. He said, the greatest work in the whole cosmos is to be a good instrument in the hands of our Master. Our aim should always be serving our Master faithfully. Always think of your Master, your Guru, in whatever condition you happen to serve people, your family, yourself, and your country. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, remember the Guru, remember the Master. Pray to him. And if you do this, you will be serving yourself better, your family better, your country better. If all of us do this, India will prosper in every field of activity. India would very soon become the world teacher. So, Bhagwan had said many more things, but the essence of it all is that we should have Guru Bhakti. Bhagwan used to tell me that Bhakti is not enough, it should be Bhaya Bhakti. There should be awe, there should be respect, there should be fear. Bhakti, that is prema, mixed with fear, because the fear will make you behave in the right way with the Master. Otherwise, you may take him for granted in many ways and be a loser. So we have to have this Bhaya Bhakti for our Guru, and remembering the Guru and going about our everyday life, chanting his name and praying to him for a better role play is the only thing that we have to do. We all have to have faith, and faith would come only with experience. But chanting the name is very much in our hand. Praying to him is possible for us. So we have to do what we can and make the best of every day. Now today, we should complete it with our prayers for the world. Bhagwan, please arrest the spread of the disease immediately and uproot the fear, the panic from the hearts of people.